Yeah, good to talk to you, Jackson.
Thank you for coming on the channel. So you've been doing quite a few bigger projects lately, right?
Yeah. This next one, it should be like over 40 minutes, which will be the second longest thing I've ever made, which is kind of daunting, but yeah.
What got you on this kick of these giant projects?
I don't know. I think it's me just realizing that like more detail isn't a bad thing, and I don't need to gloss over everything, and like I can get more in depth. And I think part of that's just like getting better as a creator. Like my very first video was 6.5 minutes, and that was more to do with just I wasn't able to make a longer video. Like I just wasn't good at that yet. But yeah, it's something to where, the videos that I usually watch are longer, and if that's how long the video needs for me to make it good, then that's what I'll do. If it needs to be shorter, then I'll make it shorter. But yeah.
So how long have you been doing YouTube?
I started my channel in January of 2023. I want to say my first video came out on like January 10th. So almost 2 years.
It's not as long as I realized. Like, I think you kind of carry yourself a lot like the other YouTubers that have been doing it forever. And so you just kind of mesh really well into that world. And it made me just kind of assume you'd been doing it forever.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. I get comments. It's funny when you first start, and all the comments you get are like, dude, you should have so many more subscribers. I'm sure you've gotten this too. Like, I don't believe you don't have more subscribers. I got to a point where, like, I stopped getting those comments, and it was like, oh, I guess I'm at, like, the right number of subscribers now. And now I started getting them. Now I've started getting them again, so I think I'm back on a good track.
Good. I was hoping you weren't going to say, now I'm getting the ones that say you have too many and you don't deserve this amount.
I'm going to start trying to bleed. I need some controversy. I got to get these people out of here.
Oh, man. I'll tell you, like, so it's so funny because I'll work so hard on a certain video and I'm like, this is a beautiful video. I'm so excited to get it out there. And it, like, when it's mostly positive and I've worked the hardest on it, it gets like 10,000 maybe on a good day. And then like I had the Halo TV show one that I did about Christopher Nolan doing a Halo TV show. That thing just blew up, but it was so controversial. Maybe controversy sells, I guess.
Yeah. No, yeah, the first video of yours that I watched was the Halo 2 one, how Halo 2 critiques religion, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I remember, I'll be honest, before I clicked on it, I was like, this video is going to suck. And then you completely like blew me away. I was like, this is awesome. Like, this dude is so talented. This is a way better video than I expected. I expected like generic Reddit atheist, like, like generic whatever stuff where the person thinks they're super insightful and they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, your video was great. And I was like, wow, this dude is really cool. Let me leave him a good comment.
Yeah, well, I majorly appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's funny. I got that comment a lot from people, which is, for something about it, they were like, this seemed like it was going to, which is funny that they would click on it thinking it was going to suck and just being disappointed by it. But no, it's funny how many people, I think, like, there were so many comments on that one. And what I'll do is I usually share them on Facebook and Reddit as well. And I would get comments on Facebook from people who wouldn't click on the link. Like, they were just like, this is the stupidest video and all that. And then other people would say, no, I watched it and here's what he really said. And then they would be totally wrong. And I'm like, did you watch it? Because that's not. But yeah, it's interesting to me how much is in the titles and the thumbnails of videos, like how much weight that has on how well a video is going to do. Because I've been doing YouTube forever. I mean, since I was like 10 years old, and I just like never picked up. I was just like, if you just keep doing it long enough, you put in enough work, it's going to happen. And never did. And one of the biggest things was I just started doing research on, okay, what would I click on and what would look interesting to me? And it's just funny how much weight goes into that. I mean, I'm curious how much. Well, I guess I should ask you, when did your channel start picking up?
Oh, my channel started picking up. Like, my very first video was called Dead Space 2 as a Masterpiece, and I expected that to get no views whatsoever. I expected that I would just make videos and get no views whatsoever for a while, and like it would be a grind, and maybe hopefully in a year I'll be at like 1,000 subscribers or something. My very first video got like 5,000 views after a couple weeks. Like, it just nothing, and then just popped. And then I did a second video that's still the worst thing I've ever done. Don't watch it. But my third video was called The Genius of Halo Era Bungie, which I sound really geeky talking about this, but in my past projects and stuff that I worked on, there were two quotes from Bungie that like really resonated with me, and one was Jamie Griesmer's 30 seconds of fun quote,
Mhm.
and the other was, I think his name was Adrian Perez, but he said something like, good enough sucks. There's a huge difference between good enough and awesome, and everyone here, we set the standard that we want awesome. Good enough doesn't cut it. And so yeah, I really was like, I want to make a video about those quotes and about early Bungie's design philosophy. And yeah, I put it together, and it at the time was a video I was really proud of. In hindsight, it's like I would make a way better video now, but people really liked it. And yeah, that one got over 100,000 views in like a month maybe, and now it's over 200,000, I think. So that one just took off for me. And
Yeah.
Marty O'Donnell commented on it and stuff, so it was really cool.
Yeah, that's when you're officially part of the club, when Marty comments on it.
Yes, when Marty shows up, I had the Marty seal of approval.
How much work or thought do you think you put into uh, thumbnails and how the title would fit with the algorithm, or was that kind of a later thing?
I thought about it, but yeah, not nearly as much as I do now. Like back then, I wasn't even doing my thumbnails in Photoshop. I was using Canva, which it's funny because I was using Canva templates and stuff, and now like I can identify that. Like anytime someone uses Canva, I'm like, oh, that's a Canva thumbnail.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was something where I realized like not even just for views, but also just because I didn't want thumbnails that were like embarrassing to look at. And I thought that some of my early thumbnails were just like, this doesn't look professional. Like this just looks bad. Obviously there's like the Penguin Zeros of the world or someone who, they just take a still from the video or something. Um, but yeah, now like I won't put out a good video. I won't put out a video unless I'm like happy with the title and thumbnail, and I'll put hours and hours into it. And what I like doing is I'll try to think of a thumbnail idea at first, and I'll try to get like a rough draft before I even do anything else for the video. And then I'll just revisit that throughout the entire process so that, maybe I don't think of something and I need to look at it a few days later and I'll get a new idea or something. But yeah, I put so much time into doing thumbnails and stuff. I think that's something that a lot of, new YouTubers don't get, like the importance of that, and they'll spend half an hour on something and just slap it together and then be like, why am I not getting views?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the videos that I have that have done well, it's like I knew before I made the video they would do well because I got a great idea for a title.
Yeah.
Like before any of the video was written, I was like, oh, this would be a good title. And I would click on this title. And then the video sort of kind of comes out of that. And so then when it all comes together, I've had this idea since the beginning. It does great because other people click on it. But then I'll have videos where I get an idea and I work really hard on it. And at the end, I'm like, oh, crap. What would a good name for this be? And it just doesn't do as well. I mean, if I'm not able to come up with something that really ties to the video and really captivates people, I can work for days and days on a project and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Like the idea is so important. Like exactly what you're talking about. The genius of Halo era Bungie, that video, I was like, this could be a pretty big video. And then I published it and it had like 20 views after a week. I was kind of depressed. And then, yeah, it just randomly picked up. And it's like, my first real foray into not doing Halo content was a Lego Star Wars video. It was called like, can I beat Lego Star Wars the complete saga in under 24 hours? Like that's a really good title. It's like, that's a good title. Come up with a good thumbnail. It's like, I think this can do well. And sure enough, that video is like almost 800,000 views.
Yeah.
But yeah, so much of that is just the idea. Because originally I wasn't going to do the under 24 hours thing. I 100% of Lego Star Wars, a complete saga. That would have gotten maybe like 30,000 views.
You're now getting into the challenges you've been doing. And I mean, of course, that was a while ago, but I feel like you have a really good mix on your channel of video essays. And then, I mean, now you do a lot of live streaming, but also just these crazy, ridiculous challenges that you do. And I was curious, what do you feel is the most fun or interesting challenge that you have done or that has presented itself as you've had this Halo YouTube channel?
Yeah, as far as like a gaming challenge goes, like I did that first Halo speedrun video. It was called like, can I beat Halo C Legendary in under 90 minutes? And I think the evidence of that being my favorite one that I've done is like I never stopped speedrunning after that. Like I learned how to speedrun specifically for that video, and now like all my live streams are me doing that still because I thought it was a lot of fun. Lately, like the challenges I've been doing that I've liked the most are the Lego ones. Like those games are just fun to just run through and collect everything. But then yeah, as far as like challenge for running a YouTube channel, I would say that the branching out thing, because that was something where I almost like quit YouTube entirely because I was like, I don't want to make Halo anymore. It's not fun anymore, like only doing Halo. But I didn't think that I could like branch out. Like I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought like it would take too long, and if it ever did work, because YouTube boxes you into a niche and there's no way to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then I managed to pull it off, which was very cool. And now it's like I can make a video on whatever game I want, which was something that I did not expect happening.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things that you put was and I don't read YouTube posts that often, but you had this little graph that was like making a YouTube video, and it was like an interesting idea in the beginning, and then it was like I hate my life for like the majority of it. Then at the end, it's like, whew, I'm done. That's great. And
Yep.
I was like the most relatable post I have ever seen, because it is so much fun in the beginning and it is so relieving in the end. But there is this whole slog in the middle where it's just this idea that half the time, at least for me, I'm going, is this going to be horrible? Am I spending days and hours working on something that's ultimately I'm going to want to just give up on because like, oh crap, this might not be that great of a video.
Yeah, I break the fourth wall on that in my next video actually that I'm working on. Like I think like 20 minutes into the video, I just stop everything and I'm like, then I had a existential crisis about whether or not this would be a good video or not. And then, I
Yeah.
just carry on with everything else. But yeah, like that's a real thing. Like I've had so many cases where I'm like, this video sucks. This isn't going to be anything. Why am I even doing this? I should scrap the idea. My Force Unleashed video, that video's doing really good too. That one I almost didn't even publish because I thought it sucked. And I did make a couple changes before I published it that fixed most of the problems I had with it, and I think it's a good video.
Yeah.
But it is often a case of like being your own harshest critic. Like I think that's probably true of a lot of YouTubers, where something that bothers you a whole lot, you put it out and like no one cares. But I think that's probably it's bad and it's good, because I think in order to succeed, like you have to be your own harshest critic. Like if you can't look at your own work and think, and you just think like, oh, this is awesome, I don't need to fix anything, then it probably sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I like specifically the Christopher Nolan reboot video I did. Like I remember when I was finishing that thinking to myself like this just doesn't feel complete. Like this feels so all over the place and scrapped together. I don't think anyone's going to want to pay attention to this fit. Like everyone's going to get bored and click away, and it just blew up. Became my biggest one. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Maybe I have no idea if a video is going to be good or not."
I mean, that's the thing where like a lot of people's biggest videos are ones that they hate. Like for me, I have a Halo 2 video that I think is just awful, and of course it has like 300,000 views. It's the worst thing is getting comments on a video that are like negative comments, and you get them constantly and you're like, I 100% agree with you. Like
Yeah.
these people leaving mean comments, they're 100% right, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. It is overwhelming. It's funny that how much you have jumped into Halo 2 Legendary, and I admire you for doing so. But I've beaten Halo 2 on Legendary one time. It was when I was in college, and it was one of the most emotional experiences of my life. And I was like, yeah, I'm satisfied, never touching that again. And I cannot imagine. I don't think people would have wanted to watch the emotional train wreck that was going on when I was going through it. But that for me also, I didn't even know about speedrunning until I started trying to do Legendary, and I would get stuck on something for like 3 weeks. I'd play it for like 3 hours, get ticked off, walk away from it, come back, and I'm like, there's got to be a way. So I would look up like, how do people get through this? And then I found speedrunning, and I thought, this is so cool. This is these weird ways where you kind of break the game and you're able to, I guess, like if you look at it like the cynical way is like, oh, this is how you cheat through it, so you're
Yeah,
not
you
really
cheat.
doing it. But but the optimistic way is like, whoa, that's what's so cool about, I mean, video games in general maybe, but especially Halo, is that it's more than just the traditional walkthrough of the game, but there's so many different ways to break it in cool ways. I mean, like
Yeah.
Mint Blitz, like he's not playing the game the way it was intended, but that's kind of the thing about Halo, is it leaves so much room to not play it in the way it was intended.
Yeah, like the quintessential one is Silent Cartographer, right? Because you get out at the beach and there's like this big epic beach fight. There's nothing stopping you from just turning around and going the complete opposite direction.
Right.
Like they just allow that, and it's it's cool, and yeah, that opens the door for us to do like all sorts of tricks and stuff. Which the complainers thing is always like, oh my god, you're cheating, you're skipping everything. But like, I never thought that watching it. I just always thought it was cool. Like, oh my god, I never knew that these things were possible in Halo. He just teleported through a wall. That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just think it's cool stuff. And then yeah, like played the game since I was a kid, so I have so much practice playing them on Legendary where it's like, this isn't even that hard anymore. But
Yeah.
obviously, I remember being like 10 years old in those games killing me. Yeah, with Halo, I think a lot of it was Microsoft early on with, Red versus Blue and Rooster Teeth. They built their whole company around Microsoft and Bungie, their assets in their game. And they just said, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you look at it now, like you're allowed to use Halo music in videos. They don't copyright strike you. So I think that, that's a good point in Microsoft and Bungie's favor.
Yeah.
And, continuing with 343 and now Halo Studios. Um,
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
yeah, which I get because, they cleaned out like all the top people, but I don't know about the rest of the company. But I don't know. I guess if they want a fresh start, then it makes sense. But we'll see what they do with their next projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't necessarily know what to make of it because that was and to be more specific, I mean, I guess everyone who's watching this has probably seen this tech demo by this point, but it felt very similar to, I guess it was 2018 when we got the tech demo for, or maybe 2017 we got the tech demo for Halo Infinite. And Halo Infinite didn't necessarily, I don't know, it's like when we saw that, to me at least, it felt like the promise of, oh, everything's going to be the way it was and it's going to be perfect, we're not going to have any issues with it. And then of course that wasn't the end result of it. So I'm excited but skeptical at this point.
Yeah, no, they're talking about, we're going to go back, we're going to stop making Halo games the way we did for the last three, and we're going to go back to the past kind of, but they'll probably put out Halo C, the remake, and it'll have like Sprint, and it'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Which I think, I mean, we gotta be. Halo has made sense. I was talking to Marty about it because, I was asking him if he had played Halo Infinite and he said no, he hadn't. And he asked me if I liked it. And I said, yeah, I mean, it's very different, obviously. And in my head, it doesn't hold a candle to the other ones. But it's also like, for me, it's like Spider-Man. Like, I think they're making probably too many Spider-Man movies at this point. But I love Spider-Man, so I'm always gonna go see it. Like Venom, this new Venom that's coming out. Like, I imagine it's probably not going to be that good, but I'm going to go see it because it has to do with Spider-Man, and I'm just always going to be there. And maybe maybe someday I'll eat my words. Maybe someday it'll be so bad I'll be like, no, I'm done. But at least now for Spider-Man and for Halo, I would say it's like, if you're going to see it, I just have fun in this world.
Yeah, for me that was kind of like Star Wars, where I love Star Wars and watched every Star Wars thing out. And then after The Last Jedi, I was like, I don't care what happens next. I didn't watch Solo. I didn't watch. I don't even remember what the ninth movie was called until like a couple years after it came out. I don't watch any of the TV shows now. Like, I don't care at all. But yeah, Halo was kind of the same way too, where like Halo 5 I hated, and I played once all the way through and then like never touched it again until I started this YouTube channel. But Infinite comes out and it's like, I'll play it, and I played through it over a weekend and it was like, that was fun. And I never really touched it again.
Well, I think it really made me think of it when you said there's such a difference between, was it a good and a great game, or what was the exact quote?
Between good enough and awesome.
Between good enough and awesome. Yeah, I feel that so much about Infinite specifically because Infinite really is a good game. Like, it's got a lot of great mechanics. It's got a passable story in my mind, and it's got a pretty decent multiplayer. But it's just like when you're following basically perfection, it's just like, that's why it's so difficult. If you anything that you're experimenting on, it's shifty. It's, who knows, because you're following up such beloved properties that have meant so much to people. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I do think it was 343's best game, like, overall, even with all the problems with it. The main problem with the multiplayer when it came out for me was just that there wasn't enough stuff. Like, me and my friends played the multi for a week, and then we're like, we're kind of bored with this because there wasn't even a Slayer playlist back then. There were like 5 multiplayer maps, and it's like, y'all worked on this game for 6 years, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird that things like Infection, I forget, weren't there. And like, I play it now and don't think about it. And I'm like, oh, wait, there was like a year and a half that they were just holding it back for no reason.
No, it's like, had they released the game back then as it is now, I think it would have been like really well received. At least on the multiplayer front. The campaign, still has the problems with like there only being one biome and stuff.
Well, so I've got to ask you. So you've fallen into this niche, and I know that you've been able to find some freedom in it, and I'm really glad to hear that you've been able to kind of find something that's new and that you're excited about. But I'm curious, like, what would you say is your favorite thing about being a YouTuber in this niche and about being involved in this community?
I'll be honest, I don't know. What is my favorite thing about being a Halo YouTuber? Uh, Probably like the people that I've met, mostly in the speedrun community. Like I've met a lot of nice people. A lot of people have been encouraging to me, like Mint Blitz and Hidden Xperia and um, a lot of bigger guys. So that's nice. And yeah, I had fun doing only Halo for a bit, and I'm still willing to do Halo every now and then. My last video was a Halo video, but yeah, I don't know. My main thing with just being a YouTuber, period, is just it's something that I wanted to do since I was a kid, and be like, oh man, what if I made YouTube videos? That would be so cool. And like,
Yeah.
it's actually surreal that it's kind of actually happened.
Yeah, it's incredibly validating and encouraging when you make something and you work so hard. And I mean, even like 10 people, if 10 people comment on a video and they're like, this was great, this really meant a lot to me, it's like, wow, all that time was worth it. Like, that's awesome. I spent a long time on it, and 10 people thought this was great. That's worth it
Yeah.
to me.
It's kind of like Twitch viewers, right? Where it's like, oh man, I only had 10 people watching my live stream, but it's like you picture that in person, and you're like on a couch, and there's 10 people around you, like cheering you on.
Yeah, like
as
you're
you
the
play a
life of the
game. Like that's
party.
it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny how much my perspective has been ruined, because at first, like, I made the red versus blue video. That was my first one, and it made, like, I think it got 300 views within the first week, and I thought, "Oh my gosh. Like, this is going somewhere. That's so many views." And I was like, I need to keep making, because originally it was just a one-off. I made it because Rooster Teeth shut down and it had influenced me so much. And I was like, man, it would be fun to make a machinima. I've never done that, because when I was a kid, I had the Xbox 360 Slim that didn't come with the external hard drive, so I couldn't use Theater. So when I would do Halo machinimas or take a whack at it, I was like filming the Halo like screen, the CRT, and so it looked horrible. So I was like, well, let me do it. That might be a fun experience. Not a fun experience. I will tell you, making machinima is incredibly hard, especially doing it alone. So it's super daunting if I ever wanted to do something like that again. But no, 300 views, that was so much. And then when my Halo 2 video blew up, and now that I've gotten a couple thousand views, if a video is only getting like 2,000 or 3,000 views, I'm like, it's dead. It's just a dead video. And it's like 3,000 people. Like, imagine that they wouldn't fit in my house. I would, get charged for a fire hazard.
No, yeah, I remember that too, where it's like, oh man, this got 1,000 views in the first 24 hours. That's insane. And now it's like, if I'm not, and now it's like, oh man, I only got 20,000 views in the first 24 hours. This video sucks. Whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, your perspective just completely gets destroyed over time.
So tell me all this about Halo, and you may have said it in a video, and I have just forgotten or it slipped my mind. But I'm curious, what is your favorite Halo and why?
Campaign wise, I like Halo 1 the best. In terms of overall package, I would say Halo 3. With the multiplayer and its campaign and Forge and all that stuff. But Halo C's campaign, I just think its gameplay is the most fun. That's really all it boils down to for me. People complain about like the repeated level geometry and stuff. I think that's all overblown. Outside of the library is a bad level.
See, it's funny. Unless I'm playing on Legendary, I still like the library. Legendary, it sucks. It's horrible.
So it's bad, but I do enjoy it because like shotgunning Flood is always fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, I recognize this is bad. I like all sorts of bad things. When I was a kid, I liked Power Rangers. It's terrible. Don't watch Power. It's awful. But, I did like it. Same thing with library. Like, it's not a good level, but I can have fun with it. Especially speedrunning it when you're just running through the hallways and running and gunning. It's a lot of fun until you get to the doors.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Halo C's combat loop, I just think is perfect. Like, I think they nailed it first try. And then Halo 3, like, I have so many good memories of playing multiplayer on that with my friends, and custom games and Forge were like all these custom games that made it into Reach, where a lot of people knew them from there, and now into Infinite all started in Halo 3.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people had that same experience with Halo Reach. I was, only 7 when Halo 3 came out, but I was more part of that than Reach, which maybe that's why I have more nostalgia for Halo 3, but yeah, love those games.
Yeah, there's some unspoken quality about them that hundreds of YouTubers now keep trying to put their finger on over and over and over again.
Yeah, I will tell you, it was weird. So Halo 3 had like all these custom games and Forge and stuff, and they were popping, and I would be in huge lobbies. And then same thing with Halo Reach to a little bit lesser extent, but still, like, I knew that there were a lot of custom games and Forge and stuff. Just by that point, most of my friends had moved on to Call of Duty. But then I remember getting Halo 4 and being like, oh, let's look at the Forge stuff and custom games. Is there anything? And it's like, there's nothing. No one's doing anything on this. Maybe I just need to wait a couple more weeks. And it's like, no, just custom games and stuff never took off with Halo 4. And I remember being like, that's interesting. Maybe this game is kind of dead.
Yeah, that was so sad for me. I mean, it feels impossible to follow up Forge World. I mean, to this day, Halo Infinite, to be fair, has these huge areas you can do it in, but they don't.
Yeah.
Unless you make the character, it doesn't have as much character. I mean, it feels like that flat Minecraft land where you're like, hey, you can do anything with this, but it doesn't have things to build off of, really. Like Forge World was just, because how they had taken pieces of traditional maps, but then stripped them down for us to make whatever we wanted, and then made it just absolutely insanely large. Then I went to Halo 4 and thinking, oh my gosh, a new game. How are they going to build on Forge World? And I'm going through and I'm like, they don't even have a copy of Forge World. Like, Forge World's already made. They couldn't have just like made basically the same thing again, or maybe made it a little bit different. And yeah, it's just like, and then Halo 5, it felt like, oh, I feel like I have to be a computer coder to know how to do Forge in Halo 5 and then Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I never really played Halo 5 multiplayer, but I've seen what people have made, and it's like, oh, this is really cool. But yeah, I can't speak on Halo 5 at all. Halo Infinite, I haven't tried making anything, but it seems like people are making pretty sick stuff. Like, I've seen exact replicas of like Whiterun from Skyrim and stuff. Someone made a freaking Bikini Bottom map, which is insane. Like, people now can do crazy stuff, but yeah, I don't know anything about that.
No, it is really cool. Like, I have a friend who feels okay about Halo, but he always loved Modern Warfare 2. That was his big one. And then when they made Rust and Halo Infinite, I was like, hey, you need to, I'm telling you, it looks exactly like 1-to-1 scale. And he played it and he was like, okay, this is pretty sick. So yeah, they can do incredible things. I think it was Late Night Gaming, or one of them that was talking about, I wish that they had like a Forge Classic alongside the new Forge, because the new Forge is so great. I'm glad that these great Forges out there can make this awesome stuff, but it's like, I feel like I need to take a class to be able to know how to do that, because it's so complicated, all the tools.
Yeah, I've never even tried it. I'm content with hopping into other people's lobbies every now and then, but it is bad. Anytime I play Halo as Frogarchist now, there's always someone in the lobby who's like, oh, you're that guy from YouTube. So it's like now every time I play multi as Frogarchist, which is rare these days, but I always have pressure, because it's like, I'm going to play bad, and then someone's going to, take a picture and be like, man, Frogarchist sucks. He's a fake.
You'll be exposed, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be exposed.
Yeah, I think I was definitely better as like a 13-year-old at Halo than I am now. So I'm trying to keep that under wraps at this point. But
yeah, I wish that Halo 3 had come out when I was older, because when you're 7 playing Halo 3, you're not very good at it. I think the highest rank I got to was like captain. And it's like, I wish that had come out when I was older and could have appreciated it more, because I would love to play like prime Halo 3 right now that I'm 24.
What do you think it is that sets apart the original Halo games from the MCC remastered counterparts?
Well, one thing that Marty brought up that people like made fun of him for, and it's like, he's absolutely right, is, you play Halo 2, or even, I don't remember, I don't think C was the same way, but Halo 2 for sure was, where like you load up the first level and you see loading, and you can play through the entire game and not see a loading screen again. And like, that is so insanely cool, as opposed to like MCC, where the anniversary loading screens, and obviously, it's a bigger game, but it takes forever. I think there's also like, this is a really nerdy thing, but there's a musician that I like named Steven Wilson. He's talked a lot about like the importance of physical media. Like, he's big into vinyl and stuff. There's a lot of benefits to digital streaming and things in terms of like convenience, and I can go for a walk and I have music in my pocket and I can listen to whatever I want. But there is something about like having the like going to GameStop and having the box, and opening it up and pulling it out, and like, oh my god, a brand new disc, and I got the manual to read, and you put it in the Xbox. Like, it's great.
Yeah, it's so sad to me, because I wasn't at the midnight release. I guess they had a midnight release for Reach, but I got it that very next day, and I just remember like all day at school and telling my friends like, dude, after school, I'm going to GameStop with my dad and I have this pre-order copy I'm so pumped about. And like, that was a whole event. And you're there with all these other nerds from your town that you hadn't previously met. And you're like, dude, are you here for Halo Reach? And it's this whole thing. And now it's like, I've never even had a physical copy of Halo Infinite. You know, I pre-ordered the digital thing, and because my thought was, you know, what's the point? I'm not going to keep track of it. And it becomes a hassle at a certain point because I have them all downloaded on my Xbox, and now I've got to switch them out physically every time I want to switch to another game, which is, it's sad. It kills that romance, that art, exactly what you were saying.
On the Halo Reach thing, I was asleep on my bed. I was 10 years old, but my dad went to the midnight launch, and I woke up to having Halo Reach in front of me, so that was pretty cool. I woke up at like 3 in the morning and started playing it, and my dad woke up and came into my room and was like, go to bed. So then I had to go to bed. But then I woke up and went to school, and then after school got to play it the first day.
Do you remember anything specifically about the physical copies of the Halo games, or any other games for that matter, that you had that were that was kind of special about it to you? Like for me, as an example, I'm thinking of with Halo Reach when I got the copy of Halsey's journal, and I remember going through that and thinking like, who put all this work into this thing? Like, this has nothing to do with the game. Like, you can play the game. You don't need to know any of this information. It doesn't really affect the story. But this is an entire set piece that just makes the world feel so much more real, and like I can connect to it. I can physically contact it.
No, yeah, like all the pre-order stuff too. So I had the Halsey Journals thing. I only had the heroic version of Halo Reach, whatever it was called. So I didn't have there was like a collectible minifigure thing that came with it. I didn't get that. But yeah, with Halo 2, there was like that bonus case that was like silver, and it had like the behind the scenes disc and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For Halo 3, hold up. I think you have it on your back shelf.
Yeah.
But I have the old helmet, pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
Where it's like, I remember there was a Chiefs player. Hold up, this is a completely like story that no one will care about. But there was a Chiefs player named Chris Conley, who was big into Halo and Star Wars, and he was Master Chief for 1 year. And we were going to have him sign that helmet, and thankfully we didn't, because he washed out of the league after like 4 years. But there's my Chief story.
No, I feel like such a fake. I mean, yeah, I've got one on my my shelf behind me, but I bought it within like the last 2 years, mainly because I started making videos, and I was like, oh, I would like to have that in my set. I bought it from a guy who had it from, when he pre-ordered it, but he was like, yeah, I haven't played Halo in years, and I'd rather a fan have it or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm a fan, I'm ready. But I was like you, where I was like, yeah, I'm 7 when Halo 3 comes out, and I didn't even start playing Halo until 2009. So Halo 3 had already, I mean, it just wasn't a shot for me. So I'm a fake, is what I'm telling you.
You're a poser.
Yeah.
What's the term that people have been saying, like tourist on Twitter? Yeah, I get comments sometimes where it's like, people will be like, "Don't you understand the lore actually?" And it's like, I don't really care about lore, honestly. I have like the old books. I read them when I was a kid. I don't remember anything, but it's like, watching my videos, I don't know why you would watch my video and be like, this is a dude who obviously cares about the lore and the backstory of the games, because like, I don't.
Yeah, I'm in the same way with that. I read The Fall of Reach, and then I read a little bit of Shadows of Reach, because I heard that it was supposed to be really good, and that it like drew back to The Fall of Reach a lot. Not as much as I had expected, so I didn't even end up finishing it. But yeah, I have a lot of fond memories, and I think the books are cool, and it's so cool that there's so many different outlets of Halo. But just like you said with Forge, it's like there's so many different sub communities within Halo, and it's cool that we're all kind of united under this one thing. But yeah, I mean, certain different things are more important to different gamers, I guess.
Yeah, I do remember watching Hidden Xperia, his lore videos back in the day. Whenever I would have a random question like, how did the heretic leader find out, or how did 343 get to the heretic leader or whatever, and it's like, oh, Hidden Xperia. And, it's like, you start watching a bunch of his videos, and it's like, yeah, I guess this is the Halo lore guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as far as like reading the books and getting into it, and that was never really my thing, but obviously a lot of people really like it.
I feel the same way. It's cool going through them, and also having Hidden Xperia to explain it to me without having to read, these Dune-sized novels about Halo.
I remember as a kid, this was maybe like 2010, we went to GameStop, and I traded in a bunch of my old games, and because I was like, I never play these anymore, I don't want to play them, like, I don't need to have them, like, let me get store credit and get some new games instead. And in hindsight, that was really dumb because then, a year later, you're like, huh, I haven't played that game in a while. Let me play it. Oh, I don't have it anymore because I traded it in. And that's something where, like, having the physical Xbox and having the disc, like, no matter what Microsoft does to the game, like online, like maybe you can't get it digitally at all anymore or something, and maybe they stop all the ROMs and whatever, like, I can always play those games because I have them physically.
Yeah, it's one thing that's interesting is when I went back and I bought the old Halo games, I got Halo Reach, the Xbox 360 copy, and it's backwards compatible on the Series X. But something with it, and I'm sure other people will know this better than I do, but there is something that is, I guess, turned off now because the server is dead. That when you try to connect your multiplayer armor into the campaign, it doesn't work. It just gives you the basic Noble 6
Really?
armor every time. Yeah. And so my wife actually got me a 360, just a little cheap one at a game store for my birthday. And so I put it in there and you could do it. You could play with at just how it was intended. Everything is kind of intact because they built into Halo Reach. I found this out on, I think, Reddit or something, but they built into Halo Reach this kind of failsafe because way back when, not everyone had Wi-Fi. So like, well, we need like a version of the game if you're not connected to Xbox
Yeah.
Live, and then a version of a game if you are. So you get like more credits for each game that you do if you don't have the Xbox Live version of it, because you're not going to be getting all of them on multiplayer. And then yeah, it doesn't have any requirements to be connected to the server for it to work with the armor. So it's just like little things like that. I mean, that's a huge detail in Halo Reach to be missing that now. If you didn't have an old Xbox 360, that it's just gone.
Yeah, no, yeah, I remember playing that offline. Like I'd have an Xbox at someone else's house, and like they didn't have internet, and we'd build our characters without Xbox Live. I feel like I did know that because I think I encountered that whenever I was trying to record a Halo Reach video. I think I encountered like, why can't I get armor and stuff? This is weird, but I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, that's really dumb.
And even things like, I just don't think it would be that crazy if in the future, whether it's Halo or another game, if something happened where you have the original games, a new studio, whatever, whoever owns the rights makes these remasters, and they're like, well, no one's playing our remasters, so we're just going to make the old games unavailable. And we'll just give them the remaster so we can get all the traffic over there. Because in their minds, like, it's the same game, and we're just giving them this newer version of it, and we don't want to
Yeah.
split up the audience.
I will say one thing that I just thought of that I probably don't know enough about to speak on, but with Helldivers 2, there was the thing where like originally you didn't have to have a PSN account, and then they changed it like after the game had been out for a few months where you had to have a PSN account or else you could not access the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is PSN isn't available in every country. So there were all these people like around the world who bought the game and just couldn't play it anymore. And I don't know what the resolution was to that, but that was a thing that a lot of people were mad about. I started off, I made Dead Space videos. I didn't even make Halo videos. I make one Halo video and it's like, well, that blew up. Let me make another Halo video, I guess. It's like, well, might as well make another one. And then it just never stopped.
Well, that's the thing is like, I mean, like Hidden Xperia and several other people have started to branch out. And I mean, Hidden Xperia, I think, made one on Metal Gear Solid that I've never played that game and I've never known anything about it. But I watched this video and I love the way he makes videos, and him being excited about it made me excited about it. And I was like, I should play this game. This is really cool.
No, yeah, I remember thinking about that because there's channels that I watch, like Red Letter Media, where they talk about literally anything that they want. Like, yeah, literally, and if you go to their channel, like people like their Star Wars stuff and Star Trek stuff, you go to their channel and like the last thing they did was like a paranormal ghost hunting show where they went to like a real haunted house where it's like supposedly people died here and it's haunted. And yeah, they like set up cameras and stuff and nothing happened. And that was the whole video.
Yeah.
But they do literally whatever they want. And my takeaway from that was like, oh, it's just because, they're big enough and they have enough of a following that like they become their own niche and that's what they are.
People
And
kind
what
of
I've
trust
learned
them.
is that I think that's part of it, but like I think it ultimately comes down to what content you do. And if it's more, if people are watching for like your personality or your insights or whatever it is, if people are watching for you, then you can talk about whatever you want. Whereas if you're making like listicle content, like top 10, blah 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 blah, like no one's watching that for you.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing like AI content or something, like no one's watching for you. Like they're watching for the thing that you're covering.
Something that Master Chief himself said to me that I thought was helpful was, he used to say, follow your passion. And the advice that he thought was more helpful is follow your talent, start doing stuff, and people are going to point it out to you. They're going to go, hey, you're good at this. And like, listen for that and start following that when you hear that. And like you were saying about those comments, like when you start getting this, like, dude, this is great, keep doing this, you should have more subscribers. You're like, okay, I'm in the right vein. I should kind of keep following this because I guess I'm good at this.
Yeah, it's a sign that you've hit on something. Even
Mm-hmm.
which yeah, those like people on YouTube, they don't realize like I'm almost to 80,000 subscribers. I still read almost every comment. Sometimes I'll miss some,
Yeah.
but like still like I'm able to read pretty much every comment. Like when people say nice things, I see it. When they say mean things, I also see that, but I usually find those funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wonder that about, people like Hidden Xperia with like 600,000 or whatever, cuz I'm of the same, of course I'm only like 3,000, but I'm like, yeah, I see pretty much everyone, like and even
Yeah.
videos where there's a ton of them. Like I'm curious. I'm curious how people responded to it, and if they're responding well, then I want to make more stuff like that. And so yeah, it's interesting. I think there is probably a certain point where once you're at a place like, like you said with Red Letter Media, when you've gotten to this point where you're doing well, that it's probably more healthy to not be paying attention to it as much because there's just so
Yeah.
much crap that comes through.
Yeah, and like I'll have days like whenever my Cody Miller video was blown up, it's like, okay, I'm getting a comment every 20 seconds. Like I just can't keep up with this.
Hmm.
But yeah, generally, a day like today, I didn't upload anything. I got 20 comments. It's like, yeah, I can read all those. People say nice stuff. Like to
Yeah.
reply to them. But yeah, because
Yeah.
it is funny. Like people don't expect you to reply to them. Like if someone leaves a comment and you actually go like they're like, hey frog, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, yes, da, 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 da. They're like, no way, you actually replied to me, and it's like, yeah, I did.
That's one of the things that's really cool to me about Marty. Like when he was on my channel and people would comment talking to him, and it's like he's watching my video and responding to people talking to him. And I thought, dude, this guy's really giving these people the time of day. And it's not like he's not a busy guy. Like he was running for Congress. He does a ton of stuff, but he still pays attention to
Yeah.
stuff. And he was like, I love the Halo community, and they've, given me my fame, and that's important to me. And it's really cool.
I like going into live streams and stuff. Because even before I started doing YouTube, that was something where I liked watching people's live streams and interacting with them and stuff. So I'll go into people's live streams and people will be like, they'll be like, "Dude, I'm playing the game. Da, da, da. Hey, we got a chat from," and they're like, they'll do a double take and they'll be like, Frogarchist. Wait, no, wait, hold up, pause, and then they'll like go to my channel. That's the guy, and that's always nice when that happens. But I don't go into live chat specifically to have that.
Yeah.
This happens a lot when I go into a Halo streamers chat. They're like, "That's the frog."
I believe you. I believe it's not the ego monster. No, but
Yeah.
it's funny when we did that when you did the little guest starring on my video. That was like my fourth video or something, and I didn't have. I mean, I think I maybe had 1,000 subscribers at the time, maybe, but I was not getting a ton of interaction at the time. And someone commented. I posted like I have a video coming out with Frogarchist, and it was like, oh, my two favorite YouTubers, and I was just like, what? Like there's one person out there that has this perspective, and it like that 10 comment earlier is like, if there's 10 good comments, it's worth it. It was like, wow, that's so cool, because I've been watching your videos for a while, and it's just like, for someone to, I don't know, it's cool to make that kind of connection with the community, especially that quickly. I think there's definitely going to be toxicity in any community, but I have found so much more, I mean, overwhelming positivity from the Halo community than negativity.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that, there's always more positivity than negativity. It's just that the negativity is what gets
Yeah.
highlighted because that's what gets the attention, right? Like I'll do that some I'll get a mean comment and I'll just tweet it cuz I think it's funny. I got one. I made a post about how like, yeah, a few months ago I was burned out on Halo and considering quitting, but everything's been good since and I branched out and like I love it now. I love you guys. And I did get one comment that was like, "Wow, I have to play video games for a living. I can't take it. Wow." It's like, I think that's funny.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's some people, my uncle used to be, he used to do TV and all this kind of stuff. And so he's really kind of into the whole, I guess he's like my biggest fan. It's really cool because he like will watch my videos and watch all my comments and stuff. And he kept like sending him to me all these crazy comments he would see on one of my more popular videos. And anytime I would talk to him, he'd just be like, "Yeah, it's crazy how mad people get about all these little things that you put on there."
oh yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I never expected it. It's just like one little comment I made about whatever, and it's like that's the thing." They're like, I stopped watching the video." I'm like, Okay, dude. One guy I think on Reddit, when I put the Halo Reach video, I compare, the suffering of Jesus at one point, but that's like at the end of the video. I mean, it's like I want to say it's like a almost 20-minute video, and it's like the end of the video when I say that. And some guy on Reddit was like, I can't remember. It was something like, oh, you thought, you were trying to trick me or something. You were some preacher. Well, the joke's on you. And I was just like, I think the joke's on you. That means you watched like the whole video.
Watch the
to get
entire
to, yeah.
video.
I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that. And then when the negative people are commenting, it's like, you're fueling me. I don't know if you realize, like, you are fueling my channel's algorithm with your hate right now. So that's kind of fun.
Yep, we'll take it. For me, the thing that I always get is I have a Halo Reach video where I say at the start, like, Halo Reach is honestly my least favorite of the Bungie games, but I still love it anyway, so blah, 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 blah. I said, it's my least favorite of the Bungie games, but I still love it. I get so many comments like, dislike for saying Reach is your least favorite. Whoa. And it's like, all right, whatever. One of them has to be my least favorite.
Yeah, you're going to get hate for any kind of negative comment. I mean, any definitive statement that you make about anything, there's going to be people that are, no, I couldn't be a part of your channel anymore when you brought this up. It's like,
yeah.
All right.
If you watch my early videos, I used to, especially when I'd give like an opinion, I'd be like, now remember, this is all my opinion and you're free to have your own opinion too, which I think that's incredibly weak. Like, don't do that. Like, just say what you believe and stand by it. Don't,
yeah,
whatever. But also, like, what I realized is saying that people don't care. People are still going to be like, you're stupid and wrong and whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't
like,
buffer. It's not a good.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's nobody that was going to leave some hateful comment that's going to hear it and go,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll really, really think about this.
Yeah, there's that part of it, and then also, like, don't apologize for having opinions. Like, anyone watching this, you think what you think. You don't need to clarify. Like, this is just my opinion. Like, that should be obvious anytime you open your mouth that it's your opinion.
Yeah, I think there's this great. This is going to sound like totally out of left field, but I'm a big fan of poetry, and there's this great slam poem called I think it's Like and he's talking about there's this infectious wave of this interrogative tone that's just been appearing and attaching itself to the ends of our sentences, these invisible question marks and parenthetical knows, and you know what I'm saying. So it's almost like I'm saying, don't think I'm a nerd because I've noticed this. I'm not really invested in my own opinion. I just kind of want you to join me on the bandwagon of my own uncertainty. And it's like we have no conviction in what we're saying anymore because we're so afraid of how it might be perceived. But I mean, exactly what you're saying. It's like, hey, when you say you think something, like, we know it's your opinion. Like, we know that you don't think that that's for sure the only way to think about it.
Have confidence. And yeah, conviction, that's a good word. Good word for it.
Before I let you go, I just want to ask you one more time. I know we touched on it before about because I was ready for this interview, and then of course that freaking trailer came out for Halo Studios, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to ask, what other Halo fanatics are thinking when they're seeing this, and like where your mind is with that.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. There were a bunch of people on Twitter saying a bunch of dumb stuff that I thought was funny. Like, people were saying that Master Chief looks feminine. It's like, I don't get that at all.
Yeah. Interesting. It almost seems like he's bulkier in this one, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. People are funny. But yeah, I thought it looked cool. I mean, I think it's cautious optimism. Like, because the last, how long has it been? 12 years of Halo haven't been very good, or 13 years if you include the Combat Evolved Anniversary, which I think was bad. Yeah, Halo hasn't been good for a while, but it sounds like, they're wanting to go in a different direction. They did fire like everyone who was in charge of 343 forever. So, with them rebranding, like, it sounds like they want to go in a different direction. I think it probably is like them genuinely being like, yeah, our fans don't trust us. Let's take this in a different direction. Let's reflect that by changing our brand name and stuff, or our studio name. But I don't know, you could also look at it cynically and like, it's the same thing and they're just doing that to trick you and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I think cautious optimism is where I'm at.
Yeah. Do you feel like at this point, would you rather see, because obviously they're doing a pretty big rebrand, would you rather see what I've heard are the two different kind of roads they could go down, which is, or a combination of the two, but continuing with Halo 7, whatever that becomes, and then other spinoffs, or going back as they've kind of alluded towards and starting kind of just forgetting the 343 era, because in my opinion, the story has gone all over the place for each of those games, but starting back with the reboots of 1, 2, and then 3, and then just going forward in a new direction from there.
Yeah, I mean the reboot thing, like I don't really care about the story of Halo, to be honest. I would be excited about a remake of Halo 1. Like I think that would be really cool if you redo it, cuz the Dead Space remake, I played that, it was really good. And it seems like there's a lot of other remakes that people are loving. But yeah, Halo 1 retold with modern technology, and they can make the library not be bad and maybe add more levels and stuff, cuz
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem with Halo C. Like people complain about the backtracking. And the way I look at it as is they have 6 unique maps that are all really good, and those levels, the first 6 levels are great. Then they have the worst level ever. Then they have 3 backtrack levels. I think if you just like the first 7 levels were good, like library was a good level, people wouldn't care about the backtracking.
Yeah.
But likewise, like you could just have more levels and go to different parts of the ring, and I don't know, because if you do a remake, like you have the ability to do that. Although if they change the story, people may not be happy, but I don't know. But yeah, I think it would be. I think it could. I'm not going to say it would be because you never know, but I think it could be really good, and I would love to see a remake of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that same way. Like the idea of doing the kind of overlay that they did with the original anniversary for C and 2 is a really cool idea to just update the graphics, but it's the exact same game. But I'm also like, okay, I've played those games like 1,000 times. It would be really cool to make a game that's the same story, that hits the same basic beats. We start on the Pillar of Autumn, we've got the big reveal of the Halo, and then you hit all the same kind of beats, the big reveal of the Flood, but change up the way the maps are, like as if you're kind of making the game again. And so you get to, it's like when I play Halo C, I know what's around every corner. I know every corner so well. I've played it so many times.
Yeah.
It would be cool to re-experience if I've got the same feel of it, that 30 seconds of fun, and it feels like Halo, but it's new. I don't know what to expect from it.
Oh, yeah, it's funny when like I live stream Halo and I'm not even speedrunning, I'm just playing the game. Sometimes I'll do that, and like I know every single encounter that's gonna happen, and it's like Frog already knows what's around the corner. But yeah, it would be cool. Like you go to the Halo ring and there's like wildlife, because Cortana talks about the ecosystem, and it's like you don't see any of it. You see plants and that's it. Like let me see some of the wildlife, like in the original demos and trailers for it.
What do you find most meaningful about Halo and the Halo community?
I would say the memories that I have with Halo playing it as a kid when I was growing up. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people, is just you think back to 15 years ago and playing those games, and it's like some of the best times of my life, some of the most fun that I ever had.
I agree with you there. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the channel. It was really cool to actually finally talk to you. I know before when we did our video, it was more kind of over email and just getting all the information, but it's crazy. It's cool to actually connect with you, dude.
But yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. I was glad to show up and talk to you.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Spartan 117. Thank you for finishing this video on the meaning in between. Chief, out.